Morning class, we're going to go over section 1.6, the coordinate plane. So we're going to find the distance between two coordinate points and also the midpoint. So we're going to be looking at those two. A little bit of a review, we have gone over both of these in Algebra 1. So first of all, coordinate plane, just a few things. You have the x-axis is the horizontal axis. It would be the independent. Your y-axis would be the vertical axis. As we go through, an ordered pair is an x value, then a y value. So we move along the x-axis and then the y-axis. The other thing is quadrants. You have quadrant 1 is where your x and y are positive. Quadrant 2 is your x is negative, your y is positive. Quadrant 3, you have a negative, they're both negative. And quadrant 4, you have your x is positive, your y is negative. So those are your four quadrants. Review, yes, I want you to write it down and be familiar with it. So if I want to graph the point 2, -1, remember I go over 2, because the x goes first, so 2, and then down -1. So I should have, so here's my 2 points, over 2, down 1, that would be point A. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be graphing and then finding the distance. So if I want to graph the point 2, -2, so I go over 2, down 2, and I graph that. So 2, -2. Then I graph 2, 6, so over 2, up 6. Graph that. 1, 2 would be over 1, up 2. And then here, 5, 6 would be over 5, up 6. So if I look, I want to find the distance between these 2 points. How far apart are these two? How far apart are these two? That's what we're going to be looking at today. And we're also going to be looking at the midpoint. Going back to this, yes, I want you to graph it. I want you to get refamiliarize yourself with this. So the distance between any 2 points. So here's the distance formula, and you've seen it again. The distance formula is equal to the square root of your x value minus your x value squared, y value minus y value. All right, so you're going to have 2 points, subtract them, and then square them. So here's our example. First example, where we want to find the distance between R and S. All right, you can choose x1, y1, x2, y2. You can do it either way you want. But make sure it should be x1 and y1 together, and then x2 and y2 together. So we go -2 minus 4, 4 minus -2, I should say, because we're doing, and then we go 4 minus 6. So just make sure they're equal. So 4 minus -2 is 6. 4 minus 6 is -2. Square it. So anytime you square it, we're getting rid of the negative value. So 6 squared would be 36. 2 squared would be 4. Add those together. 36 plus 4 is 40. So the square root of 40. So the distance, how far apart they are, is about 6.3 units. Another example, find the distance between -2 and -6, and 6 and -2. So once again, you choose the values you want to be. So you could say x1, y1. You could say x2, y2. Doesn't matter. You choose the points. What matters is you're going to subtract the x values, subtract the y values, then square them. So we come through here. So 6 minus -2. Again, we have my 6. Actually, I should do it right here. 6 and -2. Subtracting your x values, then we're subtracting my y values. So 6 minus -2, that'd be 8. -2 minus a -6. Right? And so we go through and simplify from there. When you go ahead and do that, all right, 6 minus -2, so I'm going to do it up here. 6 minus -2, so minus and minus, so that'd be 8 squared, plus, and then we go -2 minus a -6, so that would be addition. Just checking it. Yeah, so we should get 4 squared. So 8 squared would be 64. Plus 16, square root. Square root of that is 80. So that's about 8.9 units. Okay? So that's what we're looking at from there. Then midpoint. So midpoint is just as we went over, it's the middle. So we want to go ahead and graph these points again. 2, negative 2, again, 2, over 2, down 2, 2, negative 2, 2, 6. These are the same points that we graphed before. We want to find the middle. Where's the middle? Well, I know it's going to be on this line somewhere in there. That looks like the middle. We need to find it. Here, 1 and 2, and 5 and 6, we want to find the middle point. So somewhere in here, we want to know what's the ordered pair that goes for that. How we do that? You add your x values together, divide by 2. Add your y values together, divide by 2. Again, you just choose x1, y1. Alright? So, endpoints, 8, negative 9, negative 6, 3. So we add them together, 8 plus negative 6. Your y value, or x values here. Add your y values, 3, negative 9. So negative 6 plus 8 is 2. 3 plus negative 9 is negative 6. Divide by 2, and your ordered pair. It is an ordered pair. It's not like 5. So distance is a number, 6, 7 units. Okay? This would be an ordered pair, always in parentheses. Midpoint would be in parentheses. So the only other thing you do is work backwards. All right? The midpoint is negative 5, negative 1, 5, so that we know what the midpoint is. And my distance is 1, 4. So we're going to work backwards. So the x value in my midpoint, remember to find the midpoint, you add your x values together, divide by 2. Same thing to y. I want to find the y value in my midpoint, add my y values together, divide by 2. So what we do know is we know one endpoint of 1 and 4, we know the midpoint. So if I want to find my x value, so I know the midpoint is negative 1. So I plug it in for here, negative 1. So I go negative 1. I know my point for point D is 1. Now we work backwards. So we want to solve for this. We want to solve for x2. So how do I get rid of this 2 here? Well, I'm dividing by 2. So the opposite of dividing by 2 is multiplying by 2. So we'll multiply this side by 2 and this side by 2. These cancel out. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Then to get rid of 1, I subtract 1. So your x is negative 3. Do the same thing over here. My y value in my midpoint is 5, so I plug 5 in. The y value in my midpoint is 4, so I plug 4 in. To get rid of 2, multiply by 2. Each side by 2. They cross out. 2 times 5 is 10. And we subtract 4. So the other value would be negative 3, 6. So again, we always want to put it as an ordered pair. So you would write your answer as negative 3, 6. So just a review, we went over the distance formula, the square root of your x value subtracted, and then taking the square of that. Y value subtracted, take the square of that. Midpoint is just add your x values together, divide by 2, add your y values together by 2. Midpoint is an ordered pair, an x value and a y value. Thank you.